Are you ready to turn your podcast dream into reality? Is 2024 your year? If so, then I want you to come and join me for the Launch Ready Podcamp. We ran it back in October and it was absolutely fantastic. It's going to be even better this time round. So if you've ever wanted to start your own podcast but felt lost in the sea of options, overwhelmed, technical jargon, then this is the place to start. We start with the end in mind, and the end of creating your podcast is launching it. So Launch Ready Podcamp is your all-access pass to launching success. Over the course of one exciting week, you'll embark on a journey of creating a step-by-step guide that will help you launch well. Our live training sessions are going to cover everything you need to know to launch your podcast and get over that 3-episode curse. So don't let your podcasting dream fizzle out like many others do. Be part of the success stories. Join us on the 10th of January for Launch Ready Podcamp 2024 and turn your passion into a podcasting powerhouse. Spaces are limited, so make sure you secure your spot today over at donnaeade.com/podcamp. You're listening to the Mindset and Action Podcast, the place to be to grow and streamline your business. I'm your host, Donna Eade. Let's jump into the show. Welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited to have you here and Happy New Year. Welcome to 2024. I can't believe that we're already over a week into the new year. I have to say, I've decided that I'm going to have to change the 2 weeks that I have off because I feel very weird coming in so far into the month to say Happy New Year. So we're going to adjust that for next time, I think. But I am here, you are here, and we are starting 2024 with a bang. I have got some really interesting stuff to go through today. As I said in my episode before Christmas, I'm going to be doing my quarterly review today, giving you some updates and letting you into a secret I've been keeping. So let's jump into that. So first of all, before I jump in, I have to say it was so funny because the episode that I did before Christmas, I let you all know my Spotify Wrapped stats, which I get each year and they're always interesting, but the majority of my listeners actually listen on Apple. So all of those stats come from Spotify listens, obviously. But Buzzsprout sent me a roundup, a backtrack for my whole podcast, which obviously includes all of the different platforms that play my podcast. So I thought I would share with you some of that information because it's a little bit different to the Spotify. So on the Buzzsprout, which is my podcast host, if you're not aware, it tells me that I did 58 episodes last year, which is an average of 1.2. Now, this did come to me on the day of the last episode launching. So technically, I did 59 episodes in the year. And it says that overall, the podcast has grown by 28%, which is great. I'm absolutely thrilled with that. This is the one that threw me though. So this one was interesting because it tells me what are the most popular cities that my podcast has been listened to. And it says number one most listened to city is Council Bluffs in Iowa, which I have never heard of. So sorry, anybody from Iowa, I have not heard of Council Bluffs. Because I'm in the UK and I barely know all the counties and cities in our country, let alone yours, which is so much bigger than mine. So yeah, bizarre. So if you're in Iowa, shout out to you. Hello, thank you for being such great listeners. I'm thinking that perhaps some people are listening through a VPN and it's plopping them down there. Might be a popular VPN spot, I don't know. But other notable cities were Northampton in Northamptonshire, which is my county. I promise it wasn't me listening. So if you are in Northampton, then hello, my Northamptonians. Nottingham and London and Leeds. So those are my most popular notable cities for listenership. So if you are in any of those, thank you so much for listening and making it to that list. And obviously, if you're not in those cities, then thank you for listening from where you are. Now, interestingly enough, I think I said in my Spotify that there's 11 countries that actually listen on Spotify. Well, there are 37 countries that listen to me and this podcast overall, and the top one being the United Kingdom, the second being the United States. The third most popular country for listeners is Germany. So if you are in Germany, shout out to you. Hello. Really nice to have you here. And followed by Canada and South Africa. So thank you to my Canadian and South African friends for listening in as well. So I just thought that was really interesting. Then Buzzsprout actually gives me my top 5 episodes, and this is overall. So obviously I gave you my Spotify top listened episode, which does fall into these episodes here. But my top 5 was Overcoming Fear of Judgment to Empower Business Growth. That was my Mindset Mini Series episode 1, which was episode 185. Then was my episode with Grace, that was my Spotify most listened to, Setting the Stage for Success, Tips for Crafting a Remarkable Introduction and Dodging Common Missteps. So that was 163. Then my third most popular was 147, which was Understanding Google Ads with Vanessa Fulton-Batten. So congratulations, Vanessa. My fourth most listened to was episode 145, which was my episode called 2 Weeks Notice with Amy Porterfield. And then number 5 was 153, which was Overcoming Business Challenges, The Dawn of a New Era, which I believe was the first episode that we did after the rebrand back in April. So those were my top 5 episodes, which I thought was really fun to sort of see and hear. So those were my stats that came from Buzzsprout. Slightly different and from the Spotify one, obviously, because it includes all of the stats that they pull from all of the different platforms that they can. So that was that overview. So then to jump in to the quarterly review. Now, you know me, I like to look back before I look forward, and I like to make sure that I've got a plan in place. And that is one of the core pillars of this podcast, planning, which is why I like to do these quarterly reviews with you. And it's also so that I can really be transparent with you about things that are working and things that aren't, because it's all good if we put out all the positive stuff. It's great for people to look at that. But oftentimes there are things that do go wrong. And if we don't actually talk about it, people get a really skewed view of what business is. And if they are newer to business than you, then it gives them unrealistic expectations. So I think it's really great when you can tell somebody that actually things aren't going right. And a great example of this is a conversation I listened to on my last day of work before we broke up for the Christmas break. And it was a conversation that Mary Gregory put on to LinkedIn. She had a panel of 4 other people with her who were talking about the business successes in 2023. So all very positive, all looking at the positive there and celebrating the wins of the year. But 2 of the ladies on the panel did talk about how 2023 was a really, really tough year for them, that they lost people in their business in 2023 and had to pick up more of the reins than they had done before, had to do more learning because they hadn't been in those trenches for quite a while, and that they've had to pull family in to help, that they had to pull in friends to help, just to keep them afloat. And I did say in the comments there that that was an inspiring thing to share, because they're still standing and they are improving and they are getting ready for a fantastic 2024, which I'm sure will happen for them. But by sharing that, and these ladies are 20 years in business, these ladies have been through these ups and downs, and I'm sure if they look back on their journey, they would have other bumps like this down the road, way back down the road, and had to do something similar previously to keep their business going. And I think it's really important that we understand that business have ups and downs, and we can't just expect it to all fly high all of the time. So I really appreciated them telling their story about how 2023 wasn't a great year for them. However, they were still standing at the end of 2023, and that was a cause for celebration. And that is what success looks like. It's doing the hard stuff and coming out and still continuing. So success is a journey in my book. It's not something that you kind of reach. There's always a continuation of need. So that was a really interesting conversation. I'm sure it's still available over on Mary Gregory's page somewhere. I'm not sure how the LinkedIn lives work, but she did give a shout out to the replayers, so it must be there somewhere. If I can find it, I will link it in the show notes for you on the blog post. So let's have a look at my last quarter. What was I planning on doing? So there was a couple of things. One was podcast guesting. I wanted to do some more podcast guesting. And if you were around on my socials at the end of December, you will have seen that I did 2 podcast guest spots in December. I also got published in the Brand You magazine, which was fantastic. I was so thrilled to get a double page spread article in Brand You. That was the December issue, so I think you can still go on the website and look at the digital version of that. Really great magazine for business owners, and I really was thrilled to have my article accepted and published in that Christmas edition. So that was a bonus thing. That wasn't something that I necessarily planned for that last quarter, but it happened. So that was great. I hosted the PodCamp. So as you will have heard, back then I said that I was doing a PodCamp in October, and I did it. It was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. It was so nice to do live trainings with a group of people that were so excited about podcasting. And I am doing it again. So as you're listening to this, PodCamp should be open. It should be ready to go. So if you want to join in, then go over to donnaeade.com/podcamp and you'll be able to register, and I will look out for those registrations today and add you in. You can get into the group. If you're before 3 o'clock, I think today, before 3 o'clock, you will be able to get into that live training. Hopefully I will see it and I will get you into that live training. If not, you can catch the replay of the first training, and we've got some more trainings going on next week. It was so much fun, and if you are looking to launch a podcast this year, it is really, really important to have your launch in place. So come over, join me, get the step-by-step to launching your podcast well, and we will have some fun over there. So that was great to host last year, and I'm doing it again this year, and I've got one planned for the end of the year as well. Then it was closing the last cohort of the Start Your Podcast program, which I did. I had my graduation ceremony and the ladies came. That was on the 14th of December. They graduated, they finished, and I've got such good feeling about their podcast. I can't wait to share them with you when they launch, which will be early this year. So keep an eye out for that. I will definitely shout them out on the podcast. And then there was the book club. I have decided to can the book club, guys. It's flogging a dead horse here. Like, obviously nobody wants to read books with me. No, I love reading, and I've actually managed to read a whole entire book last month, which was fantastic. I've still got some books that are piled up that I need to read, but it doesn't seem that anybody else is interested in reading with me. So I have decided to put a pin in that. We may come back to it. If you are interested, then you can still go over and register your interest. And if I get some people on that list, then I will revisit it. But at the moment, I'm not going to put my energy into that. I'm going to focus on the stuff that is creating momentum in my business, and that is the podcast stuff. So with that, I want to share with you my goals for this coming quarter. So again, hosting the PodCamp, which is currently underway as you're listening to this. We will have had our welcome party. So I'm doing that, and then opening the doors to start your podcast. What I'm also doing this quarter is launching my done for you option. So if you are somebody who is completely at capacity and just doesn't know where they can actually fit in the learning aspect of creating a podcast, you just want to do the recordings and you just want it to be magically there for you, ready to promote, then the done for you option will be something that you'll be interested in. It is a fantastic chance to get it all done for you. I've got a great graphic designer that I'm working with to help you create your podcast brand. I will do all of the editing for you and uploading to your host and getting all the show notes sorted. I will even help you with your launch. So this launch ready podcamp that I'm doing is all about getting that launch process in place. I will do that for you. I will give you templates that you can use to just send out an email to your audience so that you can get people hyped and ready for the podcamp, for the podcast launch, So the done for you option is going to be launching this month. So look out for that. Look out for all the details of that coming soon. So that's what I'm doing now. Then I am still looking for speaking opportunities. I have done 3 group speaking opportunities in the last sort of 4 or 5 months. I've done 2 podcast interviews, and I really enjoyed those. So I really like to do more of that. So if you have a private membership group or you're part of a private membership group that has trainings and you think that podcasting, guesting or running your own podcast might be an interesting topic for them to have in the group, please get in contact with me. You can email me donna@donnae.com. Let me know what the group is, what it's about, and if you would like me to talk, then I would love that. That would be absolutely fantastic. So more speaking opportunities for 2024, especially in this first quarter. And the big secret that I have been keeping you on your toes, that I've been alluding to for a little while now, is that I have a brand new podcast launching this year. I am so excited to share this with you. So this was a bit serendipitous, I think is the word that you would say. I now have a business name. So I haven't had a business name since April. I just started doing it under my own name, got the podcast, obviously, bought the URL becomeapodcaster.uk so that I've got a website there, but that wasn't really the name of the business. So I have not really had a name, wasn't necessarily looking for one. I was quite happy using my name. But this idea for this new podcast came up at one of my coaching sessions, and some people threw about some names, some ideas. And when I went home, I sat with it, I had a think about it, and I came up not only with the podcast name, but also it led me to my company name. So I am going to be revealing the new podcast name and my company name in another episode coming up soon. I think I'm going to save it for the 200th episode because that is just around the corner. I can't believe it. And I just want to savor it, make sure that I've got the branding sorted and everything else so that I can share that with you publicly. So there is a brand new podcast coming. It's not going to be suitable for everybody who listens to this podcast, but if you are interested in it or you just want to hear more from me, then definitely want to get yourself on the list to hear about that podcast. So if you go over to donnaeid.com/new podcast, you will be able to register for information on the new podcast. And I tell you something, people on that list are going to get the first glimpse of what is coming. So if you want to be the first to see the new branding, the first to see the name, the first to see the reveal of the business name, then go over and register at donnaeid.com/new podcast. Okay, so that is it for this very first episode of 2024. I am so excited about what is to come. I've got some big plans. I'm sure you have too. I would love to hear about them. So do share them with me over on social. Share this episode. Share your big goal for 2024. I would love to see it. And I will be speaking to you guys very soon. Bye for now. If you're looking to build a deeper connection with your audience this year and you're a passionate business owner with a message to share, then I would love to help you do that via podcasting. If you're interested in starting a podcast this year, head over to donnaeade.com/apply to register your interest today. Don't forget to hit subscribe where you listen and rate and review the podcast if you've enjoyed it. You can also share this episode with a friend. It is a great way to help the podcast out to get to more listeners just like you.